Lots of students have come up asking how to prepare for geography optional, what is the right technique, how we should proceed. So here we have just simple quick techniques for you that you must keep in mind. First of all, we would be covering this as a general topic. Students for non-geography background, how to prepare, how to study, we would cover that separately. Now, the most important thing is refer only and only authentic sources. I have seen students referring numerous incorrect sources on internet. For example, at many of the places, Sadler's theory of population, which is a density theory, would be mentioned as a destiny theory, and students in the paper, when I am giving the questions, write this as a destiny theory and the whole explanation all irrelevant about the Sadler's theory. So be very very particular when you are referring any topic of geography or any other subject, be it, refer authentic and correct sources. That is one of the most primary requirements. The second next important thing that you must keep in mind is any incorrect information or any incorrect source that you come through must be ruled out immediately, because that is like a kind of depression which would take you in and you would be totally lost. You would not be able to understand the core concepts, and if you are not able to understand the core concepts specifically in physical geography, you would be totally lost and answering the question would be a far off game for you. The next important thing is, lots of students come and ask me, give us the model answers for last year, give us some model questions and model answers. We do have that, students do refer that, but I personally do not recommend that only go by model answers. The most important thing in UPSC is answer writing, and that should be yours own unique style of writing. Consider this as a very simple example. I have 10 students and I give model answers to all those 10 students. Now when I have the answer copies for me to check, all of those 10 produce the same answer. So what I would give is, if I have to give out of 10 marks, let's say I'll give 5 marks to each of those because they are exactly the same or more or less the same. But when you are putting in contemporary information, you are putting in your own ideas, own logic, your own way of explaining things, your answer is completely different from the remaining 4 answers. So definitely, rather than putting out 5 here, I might think about going for 8 marks. However, UPSC does not give such high marks. If you score 50-60%, you would be among the toppers. But besides that, that does not happen for your board examinations. You have to have 100%. But that's a different story. The idea here is, don't go by the model answers and don't just copy the model answers, memorize them, and think you are all set for your mains. If anyone is recommending you this, if anyone is suggesting you this, beware, be very very careful about such wrong informations. The next important thing is a critical insight. Read a lot of editorials, read a lot of articles. Let's say for this example, 2020 examination, you have agriculture and agricultural related policies, the bills that have been passed recently become very, very important. So when you are writing your answer, you must have an insight about the Essential Commodity Act, the Farmers Act. So those are the kind of critical insights that an examiner is looking forward for. Even in a question where you have general information about agriculture, if you try to include these kind of information and thoughts, this would make the answer much more different and impressive than the remaining ones. Then the next important thing that you need to understand is, don't add irrelevant content. I have heard numerous students sending me test copies for evaluation, stating that, madam, I have heard from toppers, I have heard from others, it's must to include a case study. Even if the case study is relevant or not, you have put in case studies. Even if the diagram is required or not, you have put in certain diagrams. So don't add irrelevant information. It just irritates the examiner in a very simple way, and you would, rather than gaining marks, you would definitely lose marks. So don't add any kind of irrelevant information. Also, I strongly recommend, don't go blindly by what toppers say. You can refer the book list, the kind of content that they have referred, but when it comes to writing strategies, It's unique for everyone, because students come to me and say that we have heard, we have interacted with certain toppers saying that they have written in such a style and they got very good marks. I attempted for my first mains examination, I wrote in a certain style, but I got very less marks. Why? The reason is very, very clear. No one exactly is able to explain you what they did at that point of time. Okay, but just getting a broad answer or a broad outline does not make the content complete. A very good understanding on this is, most of the toppers are not from the subject background. Okay, so they are reading the subject just for 3 months, 4 months. So what they do is, many of them I have seen have done selective reading. Now if they do a selective reading and a kind of similar question comes up, that usually does, as for our last year's prediction, we had questions on GLOF, and many of the students who secured well came back and said that there was a question on GLOF, we discussed GLOF, and therefore we were able to attempt it well. Now if you are appearing for this year and this is the kind of question that has not been discussed, you are not aware about what to write, you might get puzzled there. But toppers, when it comes to toppers, you can go for the book list, go for the recommended study material. But again, beware about it, because many of the institutes have been hiring people, paying out people for giving reviews about their institutions and their material. So be very, very careful about the kind of information that comes out in the market. It's I believe it's highly corrupted, I would say. The next is practice answer writing. Now this is something that you have to have a very in-depth understanding on. Unless and until you write, you won't be able to find out what is correct. Even for those who are going for model answers, have been subscribing for model answers to go for understanding how others write or what should be an ideal answer for this case, I would recommend first write your answer, then compare that answer and see what was extra there and what was extra in yours, and combine those extras and create a new answer for yourself. So that's an ideal strategy I would recommend, even if you are referring to model answers. But just referring to model answers blindly is not at all recommended in any of the cases. The next is integrate as much as contemporary information as possible. As we gave the example for farmers bill this time, similarly there are many more instances where you have the opportunity to integrate answers. Whenever I see the answer copy, definitely if there are 10 answer copies I am evaluating on the same theme, let's say first unit of physical geography, if I am evaluating 10 different answer copies and one of them has talked about one of the recent discoveries or one of the recent volcanoes in one of the questions where it was asked, definitely relevant, not irrelevant, then there is a higher probability to score as compared to the other candidates. Diagrams, if you are drawing, must be properly labeled, neat and clean. If you are using multicolors, then definitely it's an plus, but the basic concept should be correct. Again, I have seen students drawing random diagrams of India, saying that we have been told about many of the institutes that this diagram of India is fine, we have 3 corners and we can just draw a rhombus and 3 circles and that would depict India. Definitely no marks, you would lose marks. Don't draw. Even if you are not able to draw the whole of the map, you can just draw the lower boundaries, which is relatively simpler, and that would be more than sufficient to make your answer impressive and bring in clarity as to what you are trying to explain. So those were some general tips and concerns about geography optional. Definitely we would be covering one more class where we would be focusing on non-geography students taking geography as an option and the common mistakes they commit. So if you are a non-geography student taking a geography optional for your UPSC or your state PSCs, definitely go through that lecture to get more insight into the content. We would be bringing many more interesting contents for you, many more contemporary topics like for this year might be feminism, positivism, post-positivism approaches, then geopolitics of oil, geopolitics of climate change are some of the important and upcoming topics that are not covered in most of the contemporary content. But yes, our content, our postal material, we have updated those and we have a huge bunch of near more than 100 pages extra that we have brought about in human geography as an addition to what has been happening recently. So contemporary is something that you must focus on someone a very scoring and a very extra edge that would bring you higher marks as compared to the other candidates. Stay tuned for many more lectures and updates from our side. Have a wonderful day.